this year on PAS 1192 and the standards. Today's focus is going to be on the common data environment. I'm Ralph Montague. I chair or coordinate the CITA BIM group, and also managing partner at ArcDocs. So we've had the outline of the program this morning. We've got some fantastic speakers. We've got Robert Klashka, which I'll introduce later. We're going to have an online presentation from David Platt from IBM. We're going to have some input from ASITE, Lisa Murphy and a colleague, Murphy Surveys, and Bentley Systems. Okay, so just leave it on that. So we've had an excellent series of meetings this year about the UK PAS 1192 standards, and of course, if you're working on a BIM project or thinking of working on a BIM project, then definitely PAS 1192 is the way you should be going. But today, we're going to talk about something even much more basic, really, I suppose, and something that applies to all projects, whether it's BIM or not BIM. And I think everybody should think about this. The idea of a common data environment as set out in BS 1192. Standardization is what makes stuff work. It's the reason you can browse the internet with any computer, through any browser, is because of standardization. It's the reason you can make a phone call on any mobile device, on any mobile network, is because of standardization. The reason you can search for your next holiday across multiple airlines, multiple travel agencies, and get a price, or price comparisons instantly, and book a seat on a plane and get confirmation that you have that seat, is because of standardization. We suffer, and I use that word strongly, we suffer in the construction industry from the lack of standardization. Every project, every company has their own way of doing things. It makes it really difficult and time-consuming and costly for project participants to learn and adopt bespoke ways of doing things on each and every project. And this is particularly a problem for small and medium enterprises, who represent 90% of our industry. Wouldn't it be great if there was just one way of doing things? That you would know what is expected of you, always, that you would know what you have to deliver, and that you could set up your business and your business processes and things to deliver that efficiently over and over again. We need a standard, an industry standard, not your own standard, one way of doing things that we all agree on. I can't tell you how many lengthy debates I've had with people over the last 6 years about working to the highest standards. And everyone says, of course we're working to standards, and what they're referring to is their own internal standards. But what good is that to anybody else working on the project? If you have 30 participants on a project, you end up with 30 different standards. It's a nightmare, and it's a nightmare that we're all living every day in construction. I was speaking to a property client yesterday, in fact, who owns 24 properties. His nightmare is that the information about those properties, most of it's actually gone missing, but what he does have is everything's in a different format, in a different way of it. It's just difficult to work across his portfolio of properties. If you had 20 companies participating on those 24 projects, he has to deal with that makes it 500 standards of information. It's completely bizarre, if you think about it. This is not an Irish problem. It's not a BIM problem. And currently there's a lot of discussion taking place in the EU, in Europe, indeed around the world, about the adoption of standards for architectural, engineering, and construction services. It's about how we produce documentation and information for planning, for construction, for operations of the built infrastructure. these things are all related, and in fact, you'd think these discussions are taking place, in some sort of unilateral environment. But in fact, what you probably find is every stakeholder is out there developing their own standards, and which is just, it's not helping. What would bring about great opportunities for us in Ireland and efficiencies is if we just had one conversation about standards, around one standard. And I suppose that's through CITA and what we've been doing over the years is we don't need to invent an Irish standard. The UK have put a lot of effort into developing their standards. They've made them freely available to the international community. We just need to pick them up and start using them. They're in the process of upgrading those into ISO standards, so they will eventually be international best practice, or close to. So by show of hands, how many people in this room are involved in the production, management, or distribution of construction information? If you're an architect, an engineer, a surveyor, a contractor, you should have your hand up right now. That's what you do. That's your business. I know maybe people have other names for it, like we do design, or we do measuring, whatever. But it is the management of construction information. How many of you are working to an industry-recognized standard, not your own standard? It's not enough hands, to be honest. We're all in this industry together. I'll tell you, there is no Irish standard. We haven't developed an Irish standard. So the default, as with most things, like our regulations, etc., would be the British standard. BS 1192 was published as a drafting code in 1998. Right? It was significantly updated in 2007. It is the British standard that establishes the methodology for managing the production, distribution, and quality of construction information using a disciplined process for collaboration and specified naming policy. You'll notice it says nothing about BIM. You would imagine that this standard is at the very core of what we do as architects and contractors and engineers, and yet, nobody's using it. It's been around for so long. BS 1192 should be applicable to all parties involved in the preparation of information throughout the project lifecycle. How many people have heard about BS 1192? Okay. Still not enough hands, given the time it's been around, given that we are working in this industry. That's the problem we want to address today. These standards are there, they've been there for a while, but everyone insists on doing things their own way, and then they wonder why nothing works, why it's so difficult to work in this industry. The Common Data Environment, or CDE, is really simple. It's a basic platform, a shared project repository of information, upon which all the other good things about project information management and BIM can develop. If you can't get this first part right, it's going to be very difficult, to do the rest in terms of BIM. So I'm really looking forward to this talk. We've got some excellent speakers.